Behind the myth is the most terrible void, which acts as the worst opiate yet administered to a rootless humanity. In its radical forms, wherever this myth is affirmed through the control of movements, organizations, and people, it is linked to a corresponding education, a sort of psychic lobotomy intended methodically to neutralize and infantilize any form of higher sensibility and interest, every way of thought that is not in terms of the economy and socioeconomic processes. Yet this deception is no different from the myth of prosperity, especially in the form it has taken in the West. Oblivious of the fact that they are living on a volcano, materially, politically, and in relation to the struggle for world domination, Westerners enjoy a technological euphoria. I have mentioned a type of dialectic that leads to the demolition of this theory from the inside, insofar as in the communist world the myth has drawn most of its energy from a misrepresentation. The idea of states in which individual problems and decadent crises no longer exist is presented as something only to be attained in the future. Whereas these are the very conditions that already obtain in the West, it is the fascination of a goal that vanishes at the moment one reaches it. In fact, the future socio-economic ideal of proletarian humanity already exists, spiritually bought and paid for in Western society. A climate of prosperity has spread to vast social strata in the form of a plentiful, easy, and comfortable existence. But the horizons are essentially the same, and in regard to recent developments, we shall see what conclusions the so-called protest movement has drawn from them. They assume that misery is greater among the disinherited or the proletariat than among those living in prosperous or privileged economic conditions, and that it will consequently diminish with the freedom from want and the general advance of the material conditions of existence. The truth of the matter is that the meaning of existence can be lacking as much in one group as in the other, and that there is no correlation between material and spiritual misery. Only to the lowest and dullest levels of society can one preach the formula for all human happiness and wholeness as the well-named animal ideal, a well-being that is little better than bovine. And Toynbee has shown that the challenge to mankind of environmentally and spiritually harsh and problematic conditions is often the incentive that awakens the creative energies of civilization. It is a commonplace that all the higher virtues attenuate and atrophy under easy conditions, when man is not forced to prove himself in some way. And in the final analysis, it does not matter in such situations if a good number fall away and are lost through natural selection. We must prevent the artificial precariousness of social conditions from concealing the real precariousness of the human condition. But to avoid straying too far from my argument, the point is that the most acute forms of the modern existential crisis are appearing today at the margin of a civilization of prosperity, as witness the currents in the new generation that have been described. One sees their rebellion, disgust, and anger manifesting not in a wretched and oppressed subproletariat, but often in young people who lack nothing, showing that the problematic life is felt more in the latter than in the former. Blank despair can occur right up to the finishing post of socioeconomic messianism, as in the musical comedy about a utopian island where they have everything: fun, women, and whiskey. Behind the myth is the most terrible force, which acts as the worst.